The poll numbers don't lie. By catering to the casual base, I am giving a voice to the vast majority of the community. Hey everyone, it's Spopes. I've received some criticism recently, essentially indicating that I don't deserve to have a voice as an ESO content creator because I'm too casual. So in this week's stream, I addressed those concerns and provided my analysis of the casual versus hardcore divide, explained why I'm going to keep catering to casuals, even though I don't really. I do lots of hardcore friendly content too, but essentially explaining why I am the way I am and why I'm not going to change. I did make sure to say this quite a few times during the stream, but I'll say it again here at the beginning of the video. I'm not God. I can't judge anyone. I'm not trying to judge anyone. These are just my personal opinions. So we're going to dive into the stream recap here in a moment. I'm thinking of making this a weekly thing from now on. But before we do, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Please like and hype this video. Share it with your friends and consider taking your support a step further by becoming a member of the Spopes Army, picking up some merch, or leaving a donation. All right, let's get into the recap of this week's stream, covering why I'm a casual ESO player and why I think it's okay if you're casual too. All right, so here's the poll that really got me thinking about this. I mean, I've been thinking about this for a couple days already because it's interesting. As I get bigger as a channel, as I become a bigger voice in the ESO community, I both receive more respect, and also I think people view me less as an actual person and more as a monolith. And so they're less careful about withholding oftentimes pretty intense and brutal criticism, which I can handle. I'm not saying it like it hurts my feelings. I'm going to go cry about it. But there were a few different people who were basically saying that basically I'm just a parasite, that I'm a cancer in the community. I don't provide anything of any real value. I'm basically just farming the community without helping anybody. Also, that I'm not knowledgeable enough to speak on certain subjects because I'm not a hardcore player. But I don't know. These numbers do not lie. Okay, so the poll originally was, would you consider yourself to be a hardcore or casual ESO player? How many hours on average do you play? And I think people got kind of caught up in the whole hours part. Like, that was just a way of kind of quantifying what casual or hardcore is. But I know that really in the end, it's how you treat the game, like how much you care. But generally, that is reflected in how many hours you play per day. But you will notice that only 1/4 of respondents identified as hardcore. And this is a big poll. I think this is my biggest poll in the history of the channel. I had over 1,000 responses. And before you say this is skewed toward your community, I mean, that may be partially true, but I think there are two things there. One is that my community is a pretty reliable cross section of the community on the whole, because I don't just cover things from a certain lens. I cover news, a lot of that. I make guides. So I make content both for people who are really into the game and really focused on knowing everything that's new, and also people who are brand new to the game. So I feel like my content runs the gamut of the different kinds of players. And then also too, polls like this, community posts, they aren't just limited to your community. They appear to people who are not subscribers, even people who've never viewed your content before. The algorithm pushes it to basically a random subsection of people who are interested in ESO. So I think a lot of people who voted on this are not even like big followers of the channel or anything. A lot of them are, of course, right? But not everyone. And so is this like the most wide-reaching poll in the history of gaming? Like, no. But I feel like it's pretty well representative of the overall gestalt of people who play ESO. So again, after defending my data there, what we see is exactly 1/4 of players are hardcore. 41% identify as purely casual. So basically, a little over a third. And then right about 1/3 identify as semi-casual. So if you combine those together, that's 75% of players. 75% of ESO players do not identify as hardcore. But then would you say, and you guys are, you're the connoisseurs of ESO content, right? I mean, I don't watch a lot of ESO content. That's why, like, some of the criticisms I get where people say I'm stealing other people's content. Like, how would I even be doing that if I don't watch their content? I think that might be kind of a double-edged sword where sometimes I overlap without meaning to. But no, I'm not stealing it. I don't really watch any other ESO content. Let me ask you guys, are 75% of ESO content creators casuals, or do they make casual friendly content? Put another way, is 3/4 of the ESO content out there geared toward casuals? I mean, I already know the answer. The answer is definitely no. I would say it's actually exactly the other way around. I would say that 75% of ESO content out there caters to hardcore players, despite the fact that they make up 25% of the actual player base. So that's pretty skewed, right? And, I've made this argument before and it's been controversial. Your voice isn't taken away because you're a casual player. Your right to have representation does not disappear because you're not purely hardcore. I think it has less than many other games, but there's a lot of gatekeeping in ESO, partially in the game, like people being rude when you aren't doing well in a dungeon or a trial or whatever, people dunking on you in PvP, not trying to help, just being mean. I think there's some of that in the actual game, but I think the majority of gatekeeping in ESO happens in the community at large. So on the forums, on YouTube, on Reddit, people being really toxic and elitist and pushing against new players or casual players experiencing the game. So my argument is this, again, that casual players have just as much of a right to representation in ESO as hardcore players. And actually, if the results of this poll mean anything, they have more of a right to representation because there are more of them. The hardcore community makes up a much smaller segment of the player base. They essentially hoard the player hours. They are logged in the most, they play the most, but in terms of the number of actual individuals, they are fewer. There are far fewer of them. So here's also what I have to say about hardcore players. And I'm going to be reasonable about this. I'm going to be utterly reasonable about this. So there are some exceptions to this rule. Like, say you're retired, your kids are all at the house, you don't have any grandkids, you're not the kind of person who gets out and does much. It's okay to be a hardcore gamer. I'm going to say though that in some cases it's not okay. Like, it's not healthy, it's not right. It's morally and spiritually wrong, but we'll get to that. Another exception is if you're disabled. Like, if you have a legitimate medical condition that's debilitating, making it so you can't interact with life in the normative way. I'm not talking about just being depressed. I'm not talking about having autism. I'm talking about not being able to walk. I'm talking about having you're spazzing out like Stephen Hawking over here, right? Man, like it's sure, just sit and play video games 8 to 12 hours a day. What are you going to do? And there's one other exception, which is when you're new to a game and you're in love with it, you're in the honeymoon period and you're just getting to know everything and experiencing everything. Sure. I mean, I go hardcore with new games, definitely. But for me, going hardcore is like playing video games about 2 hours a day. I'm just gonna be honest with you. There simply are not enough hours in the day to play video games for more than 4 hours every single day and still attend properly to the requirements of normal life. So you're disabled, you're retired, you're new to the game, you just want to check it out. Like, fine, right? But I'm saying consistently over the period of like years where you are a young, healthy adult man or woman, whether you have kids or not. Because if you do, if you're married and you have children, you need to be attending to those concerns in your life. You just have to. That's your moral obligation before society, before God. Do right to your own soul. You're going to ruin your life otherwise. And if you don't, but you're like reasonably attractive, you're not deformed, you're not 4'6", you're not like doomed to be an incel for life. You need to be out there finding the love of your life and having children with them. That's, people forget, that's the prerogative of life is reproduction. Like, whether you're looking at it from a Darwinist or a biblical sense, like two completely opposite spectrums, they both say reproduce, multiply, whether you're materialist, spiritual, whatever. So there are some excuses for being a hardcore gamer. Like, absolutely. You may not be able to interface with life, but I think in so many cases, there are people who can and should be interfacing with life in a normative capacity, who simply choose not to, so they can escape into the world of video games hardcore for 6, 8, 10, somehow even 12 hours a day. Like, how do you Do you ever go outside? Do you eat? I'm not saying you're damned or I hate you. I'm just saying I can't personally condone that because my beliefs tell me that is unhealthy. It's unhealthy for you. It's unhealthy for society. It's wrong. But let me say again, these are my personal beliefs. I often speak in a way that's kind of matter of fact, like I'm saying these are the facts of the world. So I'm gonna be really careful here and say these are my personal beliefs. If you want someone who views things differently, there are tons of other content creators out there who live, embrace, condone, support the hardcore lifestyle. I've just personally seen how it has messed up my life, how it has messed up other people's lives, and how honestly, there's so much more joy to get out of games when you don't overdo it. It's like anything else in life, like overeating, over exercising, doing anything too much desensitizes you to it. So you don't get the joy out of it anymore. So you're really not having a good time. I think a lot of people who are hardcore players of ESO just rush through the game without ever really just stopping and reflecting on how beautiful it is. For me, that's what's really amazing about video games is their visual beauty. They're just rushing through, just doing their daily grind. They're not having fun. You're just not designed to do anything that much, except maybe like hunter gathering out in nature, like just vibing out in the woods. Like maybe you're designed to do that to that degree. Well, I'll just say in my personal experience, I get more enjoyment out of everything I do when I do it in moderation. And for some people, they legitimately have an excuse, right? They can't do anything else. They're 4'6" deformed incels who literally can't and probably shouldn't reproduce, right? But as a content creator who already orients himself more toward the casual community, because that's just kind of who I am too, there's absolutely no way I'm going to pivot to cater to the hardcore community when, first of all, they make up a very overall small subset of the community. Very vocal, but small. And also, when I feel like that's tantamount to me empowering people to go shoot up heroin, right? It's like if I became one of those people giving out needles in big cities, right? It's just not, it's morally wrong to me. So again, I'll just say this one more time. This is just the way I personally feel about it. I'm not God. I can't judge you. I'm not judging you. I'm just sharing my personal thoughts on this and how, again, the poll numbers don't lie. By catering to the casual base, I am giving a voice to the vast majority of the community who are severely underrepresented by content creators. Content creators, it seems, just kind of assume that everyone is super hardcore. They just assume everyone who plays ESO is hardcore and they make their content to match. And that's why I made this poll, is to figure it out. And I would have felt differently. I would have had a different perspective on this if the numbers had come out differently. I mean, 1,000+ people responded to this. Only 25% say they're hardcore. And I saw in the chat a while back someone saying they might be lying. They could say, well, I'm hardcore, but I'm not. I mean, that goes for all the different responses, right? But we don't really know. I mean, it could be a little bit higher, it could be lower. It could be only 1/5 or 1/6 of the community is actually hardcore. So this is all to say that casuals deserve a voice in ESO, and I'm going to be that voice. You can call me a parasite, you can call me a cancer in the community, because I don't get every single little nitpicky thing right. I don't do the PTS. I'm not in there blasting Trials or Cyrodiil 6 to 12 hours a day, right? That's fine. You guys are entitled to your opinions too. But in this stream, in this video, I'm just trying to represent my perspective, what I feel like it's grounded in. Where, again, personally, my perspective is I feel playing the game casually is the best way to enjoy it. It's the safest and most morally upright way to enjoy the game. Again, that's just my personal opinion, but I'm going to craft my content along the lines of my personal convictions. And for those who really severely disagree with that, again, I think basically every other prominent ESO creator is hardcore friendly. So, you know, it's not going to kill either of us just to part ways. But I'm not going to compromise who I am just to retain a certain group of people who, by the way, are the most toxic, most mentally ill. And I'm not saying every single hardcore player is like that. That's not true. But there is a huge overlap in the Venn diagram. Can I do a Venn diagram here? Like, how do you do a Venn diagram with your hands? There's a huge overlap in the Venn diagram of toxic ESO players and hardcore ESO players. Just a fact. So when people who are more casual about the game are friendlier, more interesting, because they actually have lives, playing video games doesn't mean you can't have a life. It doesn't. But if you're literally spending your entire day, every single day playing video games, like, yeah, you can't have a life. And probably more likely than not, someone who loves you, maybe multiple people, are suffering greatly because of the choices you're making. So for me, I'm casual. I play the game casually. I'm not ashamed of that. I don't think I'm stupid because of that, or I don't have the right to have a voice because of that. But that's what casual players are told all the time by the toxic hardcore community. And so I'm going to represent those people so they keep enjoying the game, so they don't feel like they're being pushed out, so they don't feel like they don't have a voice. I'm not going to become like some casual advocate. I'm not going to put some kind of bumper sticker on my car. You know what I mean? I'm not going to start a foundation or anything, right, guys? But I'm just going to keep being me so that people who do enjoy the game on a casual basis will feel represented. And that's what I had to say about that. So there we go, everyone. That was a stream recap. Again, I'm thinking of now streaming every single Monday, doing a recap video the next day. Let me know what you think about that idea in the comments. And yes, I am recovering from a pretty serious illness. That's why I sound so weird, though I sound weirder to myself than I sound through the microphone, thankfully. But I am on the mend now. But yeah, I did want to get this content out there. It's something that's been on my mind recently. I feel like it could be important for a lot of people to hear it. And yeah, just summing things up, I think it's okay to be a casual and play ESO. It doesn't make you lesser than, and it actually might make you better than in some ways. But again, no judgments. To each their own to a degree, but I also have the right to have my own opinion. And I think it's important for me to have my own opinion as I grow in prominence. So in the comments, let me know your opinion on my opinion, whether you agree or disagree and why. Let me know what you think about this content format. I appreciate all your feedback last week. It's part of why I'm thinking of making this a weekly thing. And also do let me know what you'd like me to talk about next week. If there are any topics in your mind, anything you'd like to hear about. I am planning to do a weekly Monday stream, so do stop by. It'll be at the same time every week, 1:20 p.m. PST, where we can just discuss, hang out, have fun, enjoy everything that is good and beautiful about ESO. And speaking of the good and the beautiful, we're going to finish up with a prayer. But before we get to that, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Please do like, hype, and share this video. And a big shout out and thank you to all my members. Still getting lots of members joining every single day. Please do become a member of the Spopes Army if you haven't already. There are both really cheap and slightly spendier options. If you don't want to become a member or you already have, you can support me further by picking up some merch or leaving a donation either on my Fourth Wall site where you can find my merch or here on YouTube in the form of super thanks. All right, let's pray, everybody. Lord Jesus, thank you for healing me of my illness. Thank you for my wonderful community. Thank you for making it possible for me to be a content creator. Thank you for all the blessings you've shown me, Lord. Lord, please help this message reach those who need to hear it. And Lord, please do reveal yourself in your mercy and your glory to all those who are suffering and in need of you. Draw all those who are already following you closer to your side, and also protect and preserve all those recently departed souls across the world in your loving embrace. I give you all glory for the channel and for the video today, Lord. Lord, in your mercy, hear our prayer. That's going to do it, guys. Before you go, please don't forget to like, hype, and subscribe. And when you do subscribe, turn on notifications because I'll be back soon with new content.